All right, folks, we're back. So, again, I'm pretty sure that there's some streams going on for this last series. So you got Bales, I know, streaming his point of view. True is streaming his point of view. I would definitely recommend checking them out. But again, they're probably not using a stream delay, so please, pretty please, don't bring spoilers back to BaseTradeTV, because that will result in a ban. Even fake spoilers are not appreciated. But you were talking about that book you were reading, or Abathur's a dick, or what was the story with that?
Yeah, so I wait for their vetoes. Okay, so spoiler alert, if anyone wants to read StarCraft Evolution, it came out, like, I want to say 6 months ago or something, so this is just courtesy.
Actually, before you get into it, real question, does a book get longer spoiler grace periods than, like, a movie or a show would?
I think so, because it takes longer to read and get rid.
That's what I'm thinking, right?
Yeah. But it still should be, like, in a certain span of time, so there's your consideration if you don't want to hear the spoiler. So it's really, like, it's not the most amazing book. Like I said, like, most of these books are not super amazing or even kind of short and blah, blah, blah. But this one, interesting enough, and then it kept on alluding to the twist, right? Like, you knew there was a twist coming, because the whole concept of the book is that it's like a year after the end of Legacy of the Void, and everything's still kind of, like, tense between all the races, and what's-his-face, the new president dude, the Terran, gets a courier from Zagara, who is the new queen of the Zerg, that won't really tell him why she needs him, but just keeps repeating, like, hey, I need you, come over here. And it turns out the Terran and the Protoss, but they're having trouble, like, rebuilding their shit, and they need food, or they're gonna, like, literally starve. And Zagara's Zerg has basically come up with a way to rebuild planets. So they go to one of the planets that have been destroyed, and it's suddenly, like, beautiful and amazing. Map vetoes are finally done, so it's gonna be Belshir first. But okay, so it's beautiful and amazing, but everyone's, like, really suspicious that she's gonna, like, dick him over, and it's a trap, and blah blah blah, and her Terrans never trust them. But then the Terrans, like, a little more trustworthy, like, whatever, and it keeps on alluding to the twist. So eventually I just get so fed up, because it's really not that interesting in between, that I'm, like, flipping forward on my Kindle, and it's like, get to the end. And okay, it's the obvious twist they had alluded to. It wasn't, like, a big surprise. It was like, I think it's this person. 50 pages later, it's this person. So Zagara wants to make the Zerg a nice, huggy, we're all for good, let's rebuild the place, Kerrigan gave us free will, we're amazing, let's do this, guys. And the evil guy that starts to fuck everyone over and forces all the Zerg to start, like, killing Terrans and shit is Abathur. Abathur's just a big old dick, and he's finally confronted, and he's like, we can't be nice, because Zerg is about taking other people's essence. And if there's no war, then there's no Zerg evolution. And I'm like, Abathur, I liked you. This is so dumb. I fucking hate this book. I really didn't like it. And sometimes, like, it's this type of stuff, too, that makes me kind of angry that the books exist. Because, sure, there's, like, plot holes that can be fixed with the books, and there's little intricacies that don't really have to show themselves in the main campaign. But then there's this shit. It's actually kind of important. Like, this literally, divides the Zerg between Zagara and Abathur and their philosophies. Yeah, this will probably never be brought up in the main StarCraft 2 campaign, or even the co-op missions, or even, the downloadable content. No one will know.
That book, just at the sound of it, by the way, it sounds like, how they did the Nova missions? That would make a really cool, like, side missions type thing.
Yeah, but no one will know unless they do it. And I don't know if they're really planning on, because I don't think their plan is to come out with novels and then base the missions off of that, right? The whole thing is that, like, it's supposed to be a lot of new content everywhere. So until I told you guys that, I'm pretty sure 90% of you would never know that was a plot point.
I didn't even know there was a fucking book, I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah, well, luckily the StarCraft Twitter has been doing a little bit better about tweeting about it, so that's why I knew. But there's my rant over. Abathur's a dick.
Abathur's a dick. All right, well, I made a tweet, guys. It's got the links to both True and Bales' stream. I didn't actually know Bales' new Twitter. I'm like typing Bales, F3 Bales. What's his two name? Like Elevate. I couldn't find it, but it is just straight up Elevate Bales. And Fancy Schmance McGuy over here is verified on Twitter. Everyone's verified.
Oh, oh, good.
Feels bad, man. I've been watching poor Nate struggle to get verified for a long time. He's got a way better chance than I do, I feel. So I'm not even trying now. Just that way Like, what's that meme with the guy pointing at his head? Like, if you don't try, you can't fail.
Yep, that old meme.
All right. Thank you, by the way, to TGov1 for the Twitch Prime sub. Awesome way to kick off this final series. In the bottom right, it is one last best of 3 to determine the fates of these players. We've got the red Protoss, Bales.
In the top left, as the blue Zerg, he is True.
And I guess to explain a little bit further, there's a pretty solid chance that I would invite both of these guys back, but the only way to guarantee that you get into the round of 32 is to actually win this series. In a lot of cases, racial distribution matters a lot more to us than it does like players' notability, skill, or fame. So for example, let's say Bales wins here, and the other 3 qualified players are all Zerg. I would actually not invite True back, despite like how good or and how much hype he may or may not have. So luckily it's not the case. We actually had 2 Terrans qualify in the other bracket, but just to give you guys some insight, we do consider a lot of things when we're doing the invites back to the tournament. Also, holy guacamole, what is that? $25 coming in from Sharajats, who subbed tonight as well. So thank you for putting on so many great tournaments. Well, thank you for enjoying them. That $25 is actually going to raise the total tonight up to $265 that we'll be putting into that gigantic fundraiser. Again, ZombieGrub and I are very committed to it, guys. We're going to be keep funneling the donations for some time, and 100% of the stream donations for the last couple of months have gone directly to the Maturino Mega Tournament fundraiser. If you don't know what this is about, type !mega in chat. But regardless, thank you guys for your contributions tonight. This is not a normal night. This is a way too generous night, and I'm really glad that we can put some more dollars into that fundraiser.
Yeah. So this opener does not look that weird now that we're focusing on the game. 2 minutes 30, we got speed on the way and third base. But it actually was kind of weird. It was a 14 hatch, which is like trying to circumvent the earliest possible probe scout, so you don't have to deal with pylons, I guess. And then it was like a 15 gas, 16 pool, and like it was a all-time third too that only paired up with everything else because everything else was so weird. So I don't really know what this plan was, but Bales probably had a panicked moment where he saw the hatchery and thought that looks okay timed, and then went to the main base and was like, what's this timing here? Like everything feels a little bit off.
Jeez, that's a really bad supply block by the way with that Overlord. Like sacrificing an Overlord for scouting is nice, but True didn't do this properly, I guess.
Yeah, that does definitely suck. I think it is Streaky Conch for the Twitch Prime.
I feel like that name isn't a good name, but at the same time, it might just be a British thing.
Yeah, right? I want to listen to the Conch show. So, okay. He has his +1. He has an Evolution Chamber. He could go for maybe a similar style as he did versus M. Canning with all the Overlord drops, but there's no Overlord speed on the way, so that's like a real big difference. And he is just continuing to drone. Odd little bit of an opener. I'm sure Bales is also a little it's probably disappointed against the pylon block, but he's also probably wondering how much True is really going to drone after it. The wind is super loud right now.
The what?
Like super. The wind. I'm surprised you can't hear it.
Oh.
No, man.
Well, actually, it's nice because there's just been calm rain the last couple of days, which has been way better than the snowstorms where we did have crazy winds. Actually, I will say, my whole life, I've had snow and I've had storms, but I've never had them together. So having like insane winds with crazy snow flying at you like horizontally is actually really, really scary. Not to mention we had lightning bolts and stuff. So I'm really glad that I don't have to deal with that right now. So good luck, have fun, man. I'm past all that though. I'm done. I'm out. Peace.
I used to, like, right now it's just the shutters that are annoying, but it used to be that a tree was right up against my bed side wall, and I could hear it. That sucked. It's fixed now. Bales had a War Prism to try and buy some time while he gets the third base up, and done correctly, this is a pretty safe way to do it, because you take the army back, you scout, maybe do some damage. The Immortal, and it's kind of weird, but hey, whatever. But True is about to have +1, and you just make a round of army units. And Bales might have trouble defending against this. He has a lot of sentries, but they gotta get the force fields in the right position, and that's gonna be really difficult. Because other than that, there isn't a very big army. It's a very small, delicate, but potentially powerful army that has to be used very correctly.
Yeah, I thought you had like Terminator counting down from 10 with the Muxies. I was hoping there'd be an explosion at the end or something, some sort of like emote. I was disappointed.
3, 2, 1. Nothing.
Nothing. Okay, so as the Ravagers encroach on the base, we do have a lot of gateways going down. This is great for a wall, but this is pretty much just sentries he's relying on, and that's not so good.
He already messed up too much.
That's game.
Yeah, his army, to be very, very clear, was bad.
If those sentries had anything with them, like a couple of adepts and immortal, and the force fields were even halfway decent, like I feel like he could have actually staved off True's attack, but everything disappears. The immortal's gone. The warpins aren't going to cut it. He's going to actually predictive path. Oh, that was so cool. He forced the probes around with those corrosive vials. But this
warpers can micro a bit, but it's going to be hard to clean up all these lings.
Yeah, the immortal getting microdone is going to be nice as far as taking on the Ravagers, but as you can see, the rest of this, they're really chasing after probes, and I'm wondering if that's too much from True. Like, he could have demolished the third base behind this, but looks like he's satisfied trying to kill. Oh, wow. Okay, well, that's going to be nasty. He had a little bit of micro potential, now removed.
Now, Bales knew it was game over as soon as his sentries missed their force fields, or were just in the wrong position straight up, but still trying to hold on. Yeah, it kind of sucks. If that looks confusing, if you're like, why in the world would you ever depend on that many sentries as your sole army, keep in mind that if True had just droned, Bales would have had his third base finishing with extra production and would have moved out with that War Prism and had like a billion force fields to use offensively. Like, it would have actually been kind of brutal looking with that many sentry force fields.
Yeah, I got actually no problem with the choice of units he was making. It's just unfortunate the timing really got screwed.
Yeah, it did. I'm not even sure Bales was totally... and I think he scouted the all in. I think he only saw a very limited amount of units come out of the third base. Oh well. On to the next one. You know which I never understood, speaking of weather? People who live in the Tornado Valley.
Yeah, it must be dirt cheap to live there, has always been my thought. Like, why would you willingly choose to live there, right?
Yeah, I know there's some people that are just kind of forced to live in that, situation. Their parents live there, their grandparents live there, and they can't exactly move away willy-nilly. And, I feel for that. But then I feel like some people move there because they're like, what are the chances? It's super cheap.
I mean, there's already been 40 tornadoes. Why would there be 41? Like, we've used up all the tornadoes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like people who live on the islands, like they're living on active volcanoes and stuff. I sit there thinking, like, you're crazy. Why would you do that? Like, even just the risk of that volcano erupting while you're asleep, like, you're not getting out of there alive. That's not going to happen.
I am deathly afraid of tsunamis, so I would never live even close to water. Like, technically, I'm kind of close to water.
You love the Cartoon Network.
That's Toonami. Oh, you.
Isn't that just a second tsunami?
But yeah, that freaks me the fuck out. So I wouldn't live there. I don't like the idea of tornadoes, but I'm okay with them. There's been a couple in Virginia. So I don't mind living in the valley, the Tornado Valley. But there's also the concept of like the earthquake areas that I'm also kind of afraid of. So I guess in order, it's like tsunami areas, no go. Tornado areas, earthquakes, least worried for, but still considering. So I've always thought about that when I'm like, should I move to California? Oh no. That entire state's gonna rip off one day. It'll be like that episode of Sliders. That's what it was. But that was literally the plot point. Was that like everyone in California was already kind of like in a jail. It was just like a big prison state, but then it was like literally disconnecting from the United States. And they were stuck in jail.
When people talk about stuff that happened in the 90s, a lot of the classic references are made to like the old technology and like Pogs and all that, right? I always think back to watching fucking Hercules, Sliders, and Quantum Leap, right? Like those are the shows that were on the TV as I was a kid growing up.
Yeah, Quantum Leap was the 80s, but yeah, I get what you mean. Like, they're in the whole era. Yeah, I watched those retroactively. I never watched Sliders when it was on, but my brothers did. My brothers had this whole like phase of like they bought all the Sliders DVDs and they loved it, and I didn't understand it.
I actually just got through watching the entire series of Enterprise. Because I had seen some of that growing up. I never saw the full thing, so...
That's the one with Captain Picard, right?
No, it's got the guy, Scott Bakula, whatever. That's because of Quantum Leap thing, right?
Oh, I thought that was really bad.
It was really bad for the first couple seasons. I actually really enjoyed it for the last two. But it had a very abrupt ending, and I remember watching, like, queue up the next episode. I'm like, wait, there's no other episode? That was it? What?
That's so weird. We haven't introduced.
Yeah, the top left side of the map, he's already got that spawning pool and some gas. It's Sidestorm Gaming's True.
The bottom right as the red Protoss, it's Bales.
I would be curious if anyone was tuning in from the areas we were describing, by the way. Like, if you're in Greece on like a volcano island, or if you're like in Tornado Valley, like, give us some insight. Like, why would you choose to live there?
Yeah, some guy says he's from Kansas, and he says it isn't actually that cheap, but sometimes, and this has happened with me to other people too, right? I'll think, Nova's pretty expensive, and that is a fact in most of the areas. But then you talk to someone who's from San Francisco, and you're like, oh, it's not that expensive at all. Well, you don't realize it. So, I don't know, man. Kansas, man. Tell me what it takes to buy a house in Kansas, and I'll tell you if it's expensive.
By the way, people try to justify things here, like, is Rifkin for real? No one gets surprise volcanoed anymore. A fear is a fear at the end of the day, right? Like, you might not.
Well, okay, it was actually on Reddit yesterday, and it's been on Reddit before. That famous picture of the girl that got trapped.
No. What?
Oh shit! Like, it's a super famous picture. So this girl, she was alive, and they couldn't help her die for like ethical reasons, as well as they just didn't have any medicine. But it was a situation where literally people were saying to the like mayor of this town, like, hey, this thing's gonna explode and it's gonna cause mass damage, you should probably leave. And the politicians didn't want to do it. They just ignored the warning. And then overnight, towns, cities, like homes were literally just encompassed. People died in their sleep. And this chick, this little girl, she got stuck. And it's super brutal. Like, I don't know if you want to be depressed, so
No, that's scary. I'll read that later, But
like there was like her aunt was holding on to her ankle because they actually had divers go down in like the murky like water type deal and like scout basically if they could free her, and then they couldn't. And I was like, Jesus. But anyways, your fear is legitimate, is my point.
I mean, like but that's the other part of it. There's no rationalizing. Like, okay, I don't have a fear of heights, but I have a fear of falling, right? And it's like, okay, well, not everybody falls and dies every day, but you can still be scared of it.
That's very true. I actually think that it's funny because fear of getting into a car crash is, I would say, a lot of people would say it's irrational, or like it would never happen, or don't worry about it, it wouldn't be that bad. But yet car crashes are pretty common, and death by cars it's more common than airplanes, tell you that much. So fears, man, fears. Okay, this is just wrong. I'd rather have earthquakes than your humidity. Okay, that's just.
Well, you know what? I actually might be on board with that. I can get on board with whoever said that. I'm not a fan of heat or the humidity. I'll take a risk of an earthquake over being uncomfortable all year in the humidity.
I didn't even see your response, Pompey.
Okay, you're behind the chat. We do have a drop overlord coming out of True once again, but Bales is already setting off with a bit of a drop, and it's a bit of an awkward drop too. This is an Immortal, an Adept, and a Stalker. This is the least complimentary set of units I've seen go for a Warp Prism drop, but if he's gonna set that to the main, and he gets let's say what's the Sentry? Why couldn't I think of the word Sentry? A Sentry for a Force Field, like that could have been really good. But as we can see, like, they can tussle with a small amount of units, but they can't really take a large fight.
Hmm. It looks like Bales is doing a similar, if not the same build as last time. Yeah, he even warps in a dozen sentries. I would say this map is... I think it's less likely. No, actually, I don't know. It really depends on where Bales is going to put his army. Because he could have had his sentries in the natural of Belshir and been fine. And he didn't. Oh. He could have his sentries here and only cancel a Nexus and still technically be fine. And that's what it's happening, but it could have been worse.
By the way, like obviously we're gonna talk about the game. I don't want to detract from it, but I do want to say, like those with the Deep Space Nine hype in chat, I'm on board. I love Deep Space Nine. But these force fields, there's so many of them. He's just trying to catch as many lings as possible. But I feel like, okay, when you've got 11 sentries, you've got a couple of extra force fields to burn. But he just burned like 9 force fields for how many lings died there? 26? Yeah, because of his third? I don't know.
And True just like exploded in his own drone count right there. I mean, he had to. He was down in workers, but that was a lot. I can't believe I'm dropping the ball so much on the Star Trek games. I'm not gonna say I'm like a Trekkie for sure. I don't actually like Star Trek that much to begin with, but I thought I had a grasp, and I apparently don't. Is Deep Space Nine with the black guy?
Yeah, Cisco.
Oh yes, that's one I've never watched at all. Like I've seen every single other version. If my mom was watching it, just in the background. I don't think I've ever seen that. I have no idea what the guy even sounds like in my brain.
Okay, what about gargoyles?
I did see gargoyles.
That was a great show, man. Sorry, we get distracted with this though. Roaches are pushing this back in the middle. I'm not sure what he was planning to accomplish with it. I mean, force fields can be abusive and do some cool things, but it's the main that I'm more impressed with. This drop has been continuing to go in, go out, warping a couple units here and there, and the Immortals and the Adepts are still holding strong. So regardless of whatever with those sentries, again, I have question marks about those. The War Prism hasn't exactly been massacring drones, but he has been trading out with it.
It's been decent so far, but there are other pathways on Paladino, so as tricky as you think you are with the force fields in the middle of the map, it didn't quite work out, as he will once again have to cancel his Nexus. This is really bad. He's already supposed to have that Nexus up and decently saturated, and adding on additional gateways.
The force field's on top of everything.
Why not?
And he's breaking it too. How does that even work?
But if Bales had already had a third base up and running, he would have already had additional gateways, I think, and he would have also already had a decent push. As it is right now, he warped in defensively and the lane just got us around with 1-0 on them and killed everything, and he just lost all his sentries, and it's not looking good.
No.
Not looking good at all.
Well, while we witness what is possibly the death of Bales, I want to answer the question in chat with someone asking, Idiot911, great name, says, when do tickets for the grand finals go open? Well, right now, there shouldn't be any sale for them whatsoever. We're not looking to charge anybody to attend the grand finals. We want to provide an event. Like, what's nice is because Corsair is providing the venue, we don't have to justify the cost of paying like $10,000 to rent it for a day. That's GG, by the way. True takes it 2-0. So there's no plans for ticket sales right now, but there still might be like an Eventbrite just so we can gauge how many people we want to have come. Don't quote me on this, but the goal is to have like just something open door. Like you guys can come to the finals and have a good time. That's the plan. That's the goal. But again, we're working with 2 different corporations on this. There might be different things that end up coming of it. But I will tell you this, I will fight to the last to make sure that you guys don't have to pay money to attend the offline finals. The only difference might be a formality of having to sign up on a website or something to attend, but other than that, I want to make sure that it's free. And this is a really big deal to me, so I'm hoping that you guys will come and enjoy it. The location, of course, has been posted. It's in San Jose, California, and it's at the Corsair headquarters. But that's going to be it. So True does qualify, but this was like a complete reverse way of the way I thought it would happen, right? Like I saw this bracket, and I thought like Bales or Panda Bear Me or Poke Bunny or somebody takes it from the losers bracket and True takes the winners bracket. But instead, no, that's not the case. True died in the winners bracket. Panda Bear Me took those finals, so he was the first one through, and True follows afterwards. So we have 2 Terrans and 2 Zerg players qualified to the North American groups. And as we end the stream, ZombieGrub and I are going to have to meet up and discuss who we're going to invite back and who we want for those groups, because the groups are approaching quickly and we've got to sort that stuff sooner rather than later. So thank you guys for watching tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show. Sorry, got a little bit hiccupy there with tech problems, but it looks like we recovered, and all in all, I don't think the cast was too bad, despite you guys making us drink a little bit for it. So I guess, again, final shout outs to our sponsors. You got Corsair, who's providing the finals venue, which is awesome. I do want to point out as well, all the links down below in the stream have been updated. They're no longer just like cool story bro links that didn't do anything for us. If you click on the links down below and buy anything from the Corsair site, we actually get a percentage of the purchase. We actually get a straight up commission now, which is great, alongside the salary Corsair pays us. So those are our affiliate links, guys. And again, like maybe you don't want to buy a headset, right? But if you click on the headset link and then navigate over to like the RAM section, we still get a portion of that too. So check out the links. It means a lot to us. We've made like one sale so far through it. Yay! But I'm hoping as more stuff comes out and you guys like want to buy computers or do whatever, you'll consider looking into it more. Anyways, yeah, that being said, we're done with the broadcast. So bttv.ting.com is where you want to go if you want to check out the main sponsors of the event, Ting. If you're in the United States, consider checking out their services. I know we've had a couple of signups so far, which is great. We do need to hit like 40 if we want to see a season 4 down the line. But I think we're at about 10 in so far, which isn't bad considering we've only really done qualifiers. But yeah, I think that wraps up. So Zombie, final words before we go. That's an amazing pose. Like,
because this guy was in the way.
Apollo. What a cutie.
Follow me on Twitter at ZG Gaming, on Twitch, ZombieGrub, and YouTube, ZombieGrub, and look down at the Amazon links below. Thank you very much.
Yeah, if you guys shop through Amazon, make sure to use the affiliate links there. That will give ZombieGrub a portion of your purchase. I know that I recently used them to buy all of my new furnishings, pots and pans, and hopefully that gives a nice little contribution there. Thinking of Jumper Legs for the 13-month resub right here at the very end of the stream. Oh my god, why are you holding it like that? It's so cute. Oh my god. Anyways, we're done for the night, guys. And again, actually, before we go, how much did we raise for the fundraiser? Yeah, about 260 or 265 or so. That's awesome. So thank you guys for that. We'll be adding that to the Match Arena Fund page as well. But don't go anywhere. Stick around. Consider watching these commercials for us as we end the stream. Be back tomorrow, though, at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, as we've got the Corsair Cup. Oh, Zombie Grub.
Hey,
All right.
dog.
Have a good night, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.